Ishta Spinal touch is a way of addressing distortions with the centre of gravity, which is low down in the spine, relative to a point a little bit lower than that, which is called the counterweight. And when these 2 points are out of balance, then the body's postural muscles either side of the spine that are attaching to the pelvis have uneven tension left to right, which can, in time, lead to vertebrae coming out of alignment, the pelvis rotating, which can also then lead on to pain, discomfort, and ultimately disease, dysfunction beginning. Ishta actually stands for integrating spinal health with therapeutic approaches.
I've had back problems ever since I was 19. I'm 48 now. And in 1991, I had an accident at work, which again sparked off the back troubles, and this is where I am today with chronic back pain. I'd never heard of Ishta Spinal touch before. I'd had complementary treatments such as chiropractic, which sometimes to a chronic low back pain sufferer is quite harsh, and with Ishta Spinal touch it's quite a gentle treatment altogether.
The plumb line is just like any plumb line that you would use, for example, putting some wallpaper up on the wall. And what we ask people to do is, dressed in their underwear, or a gown if they prefer, to stand in front of the plumb line, and we can assess what's happening very low down in the spine, in particular where the centre of gravity is, and whether or not it's actually in line with the plumb line. We will make some light marks on the body just so we can see where the plumb line is actually landing, see which hip is rotating forwards, assess any other distortion around the spine, or if he's got one shoulder higher than the other, and there will be one point underneath the hip that's forward that will actually bring him back in line with the centre, with the plumb line, and in so doing allow the muscles holding the spine in place to relax.
It was very interesting when I was at the plumb line to find out actually how far out the difference between my centre of gravity and what they call the counterbalance, and the way that I was actually holding myself. I was holding myself quite tensely.
We could see that the plumb line didn't come up through the middle of the centre of gravity. It actually landed about ½ an inch to the right, which is indicating that there's quite an amount of distortion there in the pelvis. Also, his right hip was forward, quite considerably actually. And when we look further up the spine, he was out of alignment further up around the sort of top of the shoulders, lower neck area. Assessing him from the side, I could see that John was actually leaning forward quite a bit. Not so much around the hip area, but further up around his shoulder and neck and chin area, that he was taking his chin forward quite a bit. And from there we went on to have him lying down on the bench and proceed with the treatment. This is the contact point that we determined at the plumb line, and I'm going to hold this throughout the treatment because this is what's correcting your spine relative to the plumb line.
I just felt that the position I was in on the couch was a very relaxed position, and the massage treatments were so light I could have fell asleep at one point.
It's not what you'd expect a massage to be. The actual massage, or rub-outs as we actually call them, is with a very, very light pressure. We're actually rubbing across and up and down the muscle fibres, and the pressure we apply is no more than the pressure than you could tolerate on your eyeball.
Sue had explained that my left shoulder at the plumb line was very tense. It was sort of higher than the right shoulder, and I felt the left shoulder relaxing when she was working on that part.
We saw quite a change with the treatment when we reassessed him at the plumb line at the end. Actually, he was much straighter. His shoulders were much further back. Also, his chin was further back, which meant that his upper back in particular was much more comfortable and much more relaxed, so his whole body could stand in a much better posture. I
would recommend Ishta Spinal touch to anyone who's suffering from back pain. I found it very, very gentle indeed compared to other therapies. I also found that afterwards I'd been more relaxed than I've actually felt in a long time. I feel if anyone else can benefit from this treatment, they should go and give it a try.